Hi everybody on the Anxiety Compass. If you're around, how do I invite people? Is there a button where you can actually invite people? Is it that one?
No, maybe.
Sorry about this. I'm just trying to. This is the first time I've done this with a guest, and I'm just trying to work out how to invite people. But never mind. I'll figure it out another time. So if there's a button down below that says invite, press it and see what happens. So I am here with the wonderful Kirsty. Is it Kianifard?
Kianifard, yeah.
Kianifard.
The hardest surname in the world.
And this is the Power Hour. Who have we got on? Martin. Oh, hi Martin. Are you part of the Anxiety Compass or am I doing this on the wrong page? Can you let me know if you're part of the Anxiety Compass? Right, okay.
You can wave at him.
Oh, you can. Oh, yeah, wave. Sorry, we're like it's like the blind leading the blind. Katie Hamlet. Hi, Katie. So, we have got Kirsty Kianifard here, and Kirsty is an energy body expert. Now, I've known Kirsty for about 5 years, I think. So, Kirsty owns a spa in Hove and is called Uniquely Organic. And when I was living in the Hove area, I used to have regular treatments with Kirsty or one of the members of her team. And I was really, really, really struck by the spa. I found it fascinating because it was all, the interior design is quite amazing, isn't it?
I hope so, yeah. It's got a lot of intention behind it.
Yeah, yeah. There's, it feels that way when you walk in. It's very chakra based, and it's very thematic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the treatments are exquisite. All of the therapists are, hi Jess, are highly trained by Kirsty herself. And yeah, it's an amazing place. And I was lucky enough to work with Kirsty. She did some singing lessons with me for about a year, didn't you?
Yeah, a long time, yeah.
So we kind of bonded over a few things, and now we're both entering the coaching world, hence the reason why we're doing this. So, here she is.
Hello.
Would you like to tell everybody a little bit about who you are?
Yeah.
And what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm Kirsty Kianifard. And, well, what do I do? Like, now I do quite a lot. So now I manage the spa, I run the spa. I do less and less treatments now, like hands-on treatments, but I'll explain more about that in a little while. I run a Facebook group, much like this one, called Feminine Fierce, which is really where I share my ideas around women kind of stepping into their greatness, pushing their boundaries, and who, yeah, when people kind of get to that point where they're just not willing to settle, not wanting to live a life that is mundane. And yeah, so that's kind of where I am now. With that, I do a lot of coaching, so I do a lot of kind of programs and work with people that way. Yeah, and then I guess I kind of manage that whole idea of bringing those different aspects of my life together. Basically, that's where I'm at the moment.
So that's fascinating. I find you fascinating, Kirsty. I'm just going to say that. Because you set up your spa when you were very young, didn't you? You were
23.
23.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you, really, before we get into the juicy stuff, is what's your story? How did you come about energy work? How did you, what was it that happened to you when you were younger that made you sort of really aware of energy and all that jazz?
Yeah, okay, so everything in my life has happened, I would say, before the normal time, whatever that is. That's what people project on me a lot. That's what makes people question what I've done, because I did things early. So, but I think the real reason for that is I was adopted as a child, and around the kind of teenage years of between 12 and 13, 14, I was massively rebellious. So I hated life. Like, I genuinely hated life.
She's still very rebellious, by the way.
I am a bit still, yeah. You've got to keep some of it. Yeah. Yeah, I hated life. I remember the feeling. I remember just thinking, like, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? I kind of felt like, well, not you, but I had this inert feeling that you know, when that kind of given, what should be a given, like a birthright, to have someone there for you to support you. However that relationship develops, that initial instinctual connection was taken away. And I think I didn't understand that then. Obviously, I just thought I was better than everyone else, and I just wanted to rebel. But I was angry. I remember being angry. I remember doing anything, probably like a lot of it was attention seeking. So I used to drink, I used to go out all the time, I used to never tell my parents where I was, no boys, just everything, you know. I was aggressive. I remember I remember having these hideous nail extensions, you know, the one everyone had with the big white tips. Yeah. I remember getting so angry about something silly. I remember punching a wall and like splitting all my nails and all this blood coming everywhere. And, you know, there was real anger in me. And so I was living like this for quite a while. And obviously now I have 3 kids of my own. So I can only imagine how horrendous that was for my parents. And they're amazing, by the way. Like, my adoptive parents are incredible. And I owe everything to them, but at the time I couldn't see that because I didn't understand what I was feeling. So anyway, really rebellious, and then I found yoga. I think yoga was the first thing. I practice yoga now, but I'm not a yoga teacher or anything like that, but that was my first outlet of like a spiritual outlet. Yeah,
so I was going to say, how did you manage to tame all of that anger and that frustration at being kind of different, at feeling like you didn't belong?
I don't think at that time it was a conscious choice.
Right.
It was like yoga was another thing that my family didn't do. So it was like another thing to be like, well, I'm going to go and do yoga. And
just to piss them off.
Yeah, they were like, what's that? And anyway, so did that. And the guy teaching started talking about chakras. And for me, it was like a remembering.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was like
coming home.
I was like, I get this. I really understand this. And anyway, so from there, I didn't do much yoga again, but I did do some research about chakras. And I remember this particular day, this is kind of when it all changed, I was in my parents' garden and I started to notice how beautiful the flowers were.
Wow.
Like, my family, quite cultural, they used to take me to all these different amazing places, Venice, places like that. I hated it. I just hated it. And they'd try and get me involved in garden centres, museums. I just wasn't someone that could appreciate genuine beauty. I just hated everything. I just wanted out. And so for me to notice the colour of a flower and like absorb that, I was like, what's going on?
Right.
And that was when it all changed.
So you had this sort of epiphany.
Yeah.
And then did you start studying the chakras?
Yeah. So that all happened around the same time. Wheels of Life was the book that I picked up.
Okay.
Which is still my chakra Bible.
And what? So that's called Wheels of Life, and that's
and it's by Anadia Judith, who I'm training with in September.
Oh wow.
Yeah. She's American, and if you see that book at work, it's like thumbed. It's it's just like So that's where, and I self-taught. That was where I first. So for my energy work, my understanding of the energy body and the mind-body connection started around the age of 14, 15.
Because you have created these treatments, haven't you?
Yeah.
At Uniquely Organic.
Yeah.
That are basically very specifically to do with each chakra. Yeah. Go on. Do you want
to... So that's because I understand that. So everything is energy, and the energy body is a way in which we can understand ourselves. Right. So my big mission is to get people to understand their own energy body. When you understand your own energy body, you understand its feedback mechanism. So all experiences we have, like anxiety or frustration or anger or
depression,
all these negative emotions, which I struggle with. Like with my clients, I try and get them to not give them that label, because once we kind of label something as negative, we disconnect from it. We don't want it, we want to get rid of it. Whereas my idea is this is an energetic feedback loop,
right, okay.
which you need to inquire into in order to understand why it's there.
Okay, that's interesting. So how does that relate to the chakras then? Because I don't know if any of you have got any questions for Kirsty, please pop them in the chat box, because we'd love a little bit of interaction with you. Hi Rachel. Rachel's my good faithful. She's always watching my lives, bless her. Give us a thumbs up, Rachel. Give us some hearts if you're watching. And yeah, if you've got any questions for either me or Kirsty, do pop them in the box. I just need to wiggle my bum on the chair.
And if you're watching it on the replay as well, like I'll try and come back in and
yeah,
sure,
put definitely
some replies back.
So energy body, chakras.
Yeah.
So if somebody is anxious, because we're on the anxiety compass, what chakra is going to be out of balance generally?
Okay,
Is it all of them, or is it just one a little bit more? How is a chakra out of balance? Anyway, let's start there.
Okay, so your energy body, so in an ideal scenario for us all to feel perfect and fantastic, our energy body is in sync with itself, so it's in alignment. If it goes out of alignment, if you get too much energy, so too much energy, for example, in the solar plexus might manifest as fierce anger.
That makes sense.
Yeah, too much energy in the heart space can manifest as extreme anxiety.
Okay, so like the palpitations,
the shortness of breath. Yeah. So for example, the heart chakra physically is connected to the lungs.
Okay.
So when there's too much energy there, or there's a lot of kind of a disconnect in the heart space, your breath will become restricted.
Right.
So that's why a simple technique is to breathe into your full lung capacity.
Right.
Take yourself out of that situation and start to open up the heart space. However, because it is a system, it's never one thing in isolation.
Right, okay.
So with anxiety, a lot of it depends on the trigger. But once you're in a state of anxiety, again, it depends how severe the level of anxiety is, but it will most often in the solar plexus and the heart space.
Yeah, I've experienced that massively, actually. And I think when it starts having a knock-on effect, when it starts becoming extreme, it has a knock-on effect with other chakras.
Absolutely.
So now my base chakra with my back has kind of gone a bit funny because I've had so much anxiety in my heart and solar plexus, then the rest of it kind of goes out in a way, and then headaches, and then you get sore throat, or you get this like sensation here, so everything is out of alignment.
It's because you're cultivating and you're storing energy here,
right? So
that there's not enough energy going anywhere else.
So the bits that are out of whack are the bits that are depleted. Is that right?
It depends.
Right.
Sometimes they have too much energy in them.
Okay.
And if you focus your intention on something and it becomes bigger, so actually often what happens with the solar plexus is it feeds the fire. So the worry thoughts feed the fire. So you actually get too much. Yeah. And that's why you'll snap.
Yeah.
So if someone tries to calm you down or, interferes, your reaction is to react rather than stay calm or go inward or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because people with, who have we got on? Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Give us a heart or a thumbs up. Yeah, I notice with myself that when I'm feeling anxious, it is this butterfly feeling here, and I can actually see it sometimes, kind of doing that. Yeah. Bang, bang, and then the beating heart starts. So, what would you recommend doing? How do we manipulate our energy body for a start?
The first thing, and I do this with all the work I do, is awareness is key. Understanding your energy body will give you so much more power than dealing it as a kind of, like just dealing with the result of an imbalance.
Right, okay.
So there are so many clues that go on in the energetic body before you get to a state of extreme anxiety.
Okay.
And it's understanding that feedback that will allow you to address things or shift things or change things or rebalance before it becomes like a panic attack.
Yeah.
Or before it becomes extreme anxiety, which, like anything, once you've manifested once something's got to a certain level, there will have been clues before. And
what are those clues, do you think?
So the clues will be a feeling of, like not feeling right, ultimately. Not feeling content, not feeling happy, worrying about something. It could be the energy will start to rise, so you won't feel grounded. You won't feel
a bit
secure.
dizzy.
Yeah, you might start to have worrying thoughts around your security or stability. Those kind of triggers. Again, it depends what people's triggers are, and people tend to have, as you well know, certain triggers. What causes one person anxiety won't cause another.
Yeah.
So the energy body shapeshifts a little bit depending on that. But knowing your own energy body means that you know what your triggers are and you know what to do and what to avoid.
Yeah, I think I definitely experienced that. I mean, I've done Reiki as well myself, so I do understand, the the feelings, the sensations. And I think people think I'm really oversensitive, but I actually think it's a good thing to be sensitive, because you're really tuned into yourself then, and then you can take care of yourself better.
100%.
So what else can we do? So you said awareness.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can do to rescue our energy bodies?
Yes, you can ground yourself.
Okay.
Really big one.
Yeah.
For any extreme levels of energy, and like a surge of energy is uncomfortable. It could be fear, you know, it could be anxiety, it could be worry, it could be lots of things. It can even be too much, you know, too much of a higher state.
Okay.
You know,
so in too much enlightenment,
too much tripping. You know, that is heady. So yeah, it's getting yourself out of that situation. Take yourself away. Give yourself space. Again, it comes back to this breath. You know, physical space. Ground yourself. Get your feet on the earth. You know, a lot of us are in cities and we don't have that connection to. We think we take our shoes off at home, but that's not grounding. We have to get outside.
Yeah, we're on a synthetic carpet or lino or
Exactly.
laminate floor or whatever.
Exactly. So it's not helping that. And then the idea that you can do lots of things, like you can visualize those roots coming out through the soles of your feet.
Okay.
You can just sometimes, some people find it helpful, it depends what kind of mind you have, to give their energy body a colour and send that colour down. And it's not just like hitting the soil, it's like pushing all the way down. It's like anchoring yourself to the centre of the earth.
So basically you're saying visualisation, aren't you?
Visualisation is very helpful.
Put your teeth in.
It's really, really helpful.
Yeah, and that's something that I work my client, because I'm a hypnotherapist, as you know.
Yeah.
So when you're in that hypnotic state, it's all about visualisation, because the mind doesn't really know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So when you give it a signal like the roots going down into the earth, it's actually changing your body's energy, because if that is what it believes is what's happening, you are grounding yourself. There's such a science behind visualisation now, isn't there?
Definitely. But you have to look at the people that tell you they can't visualise.
Right.
And also the idea that anxiety can catch you anywhere. So if you're on a train or somewhere like that, you probably could visualise there. But if you're in spaces where you don't feel like visualisation is the right thing, there needs to be quick strategies. And that's where like the colour thing can be helpful, or rather than going into like a deeper.
So you're saying when you're in a situation, like for me, sometimes I get anxious in a supermarket because I get overwhelmed with the choice. And hi Adele. Sometimes what I do is just visualise my energy coming in and then down. And so I'm kind of in my little world rather than sort of out there thinking about all the different choices and stuff.
Yeah, but this is why preventative is so much, like owning and knowing your energy body is so important, rather than just dealing with when you're in that moment. Because if you imagine everything to be energy, and you imagine how much stuff you're attached to energetically, it's no wonder we feel overwhelmed. Whereas if you have a practice of knowing your energy body, you will regularly bring that energy back. So you're not so like spread out energetically. You're not, I don't have all these attachments going all the time. It becomes like a regular practice.
And so do you do that through meditation, sort of daily meditation?
Yeah, or you could do like what I often do, because I'm super busy, is a walking meditation. So like if I'm walking from my house to my car, simply I slow my walk down. Is what I give. Is the first thing I give my clients: slow the pace of your walking down. So and important. Be mindful of your steps. Everyone
think about your feet.
Exactly. And straight away, just that awareness, that intention of your lower energy space will bring your energy down.
Because you see so many people looking at their phones when they're walking around, and just being on your phone, being on Facebook or Instagram, flicking through the apps is so fragmenting. It must just split your energy.
Well, this affects your third eye big time.
Right. So, and that opens you up then to everything, just so much information coming in, and then no wonder your head's spinning.
You can't shut it off, and that leads to overwhelm.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
I
find it fascinating.
It's so interesting.
And it's almost like, you know, when we work with the body's energy, that's almost like what I'm saying is that's the first place to start with. The energy, the now, the here and now, rather than trying to fix my anxiety when I'm on the train.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And getting to know the feeling states of your energetic body and building that trust in its feedback. Because we've been taught to doubt ourselves so much that when we get that, like, oh, this doesn't feel right, we go, oh, what am I talking about? We push through. Yeah. And every time we push through, we're stretching ourselves to the point where we hit these big, like, I can't, I need to stop whatever I'm doing, or I'm in a really critical situation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's very important, I think, to prune.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a practice, isn't it?
Pruning is really important. And if any of you guys have got any questions, please pop them in the comments for Kirsty or myself, and we will answer them, even if you're watching the replay. Pruning.
If you've just come on, that's going to sound really strange.
Yeah, it is.
Pruning.
And pruning your, simplifying your life as well. So simplifying your daily tasks and for me, I'm going through a bit of a prune at the moment with my work life, because I've just realised in order to make, because I do my singing lessons, my coaching and hypnotherapy and my public speaking stuff, my inspiring talks rather, in order to make one of those successful, it's going to take a little bit more input from me. So I'm now at a point where I'm kind of juggling so many balls that today my energy was all over the place. My head was spinning. I felt a lot of anger. I had to scream and punch something.
Good. Let it out rather on that than on someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've got my screaming pillow behind the sofa.
Brilliant.
It's covered in lipstick. So the neighbours don't hear. And I just think, it's better out than in.
Oh my God, yeah.
It really is, because someone's going to get the brunt of it, And that is how you manage your energy, I suppose, by having that release of emotions.
Yeah.
That is one way to manage your energy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, given that kind of analogy, the overwhelm is a sign to you that your energy is best placed elsewhere. Whereas not you personally, but someone might translate that as, I'm not good enough, I can't manage this.
Yeah.
And so they keep pushing because they're like, I must manage this.
Oh, that did go through my head.
Yeah. Whereas it's a sign that, what you're saying is right. Your intention needs to be more focused.
Yeah, that's it. And I do think, I really believe in the idea of the laser beam is much more powerful. The laser beam can cut through metal, whereas the light bulb, its energy is spread. So it can light up a room, which is nice, but it can't cut through metal.
Absolutely.
Like the laser beam.
I love that.
Cool. What else should we talk about? I'm going to go personal. If that's okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of anxiety do you experience in your life, if any?
Yeah, no, we were having this conversation, weren't we?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've been totally impressed by you is that you sort of sail through, or you seem to sail through everything that you do. You've got 3 kids, you've got 2 businesses, you've got a cat and a dog.
2 cats and a dog.
2 cats. It just gets like crazier and crazier.
Yeah. It's not easy. Like,
No.
It isn't easy. But and this is why I now, the programs that I now do, the coaching that I now do is derived from this to help other people have this idea that you don't need to sacrifice something. I have all of that, and I believe I should have all of that. I don't feel I need to sacrifice any of that, but it's not easy. So it's all about, for me, it's about creating systems. It's about knowing what I need to do. It's about balance, although I did do a video recently about the bullshit around balance. So
That's okay.
Yeah, but it's about this idea that it's all energetic, so I just tune in all of the time. And I do get anxious, of course I do. But for me, my anxieties arise when my energy is applied in the wrong way.
Okay.
So it's a signpost for me. So I adjust and then I recourse, or
reframe.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you do? Do you just how does anxiety present itself?
For me, physically, I always get it in my heart space.
Okay. How bad does it get for you? I mean, does it get to a point where you can't sleep, or have to take beta blockers?
No, nothing like that.
She's lucky, isn't she? Katie Hamlet, what does it mean when you don't feel like you are being yourself, and how do you manage this? Oh, okay, that's an interesting question.
you want me to answer that?
Sorry, I completely interrupted you, didn't I?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's far more about them. I don't even know what we're saying. No, I was saying it manifests here.
Right. Okay.
And how do I do it? So yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say, it would be on the lower end. I can get over it very, very quickly. But again, that's not to say like way back it was bigger for me. And that's where a lot of the anger came from, I think. But it was all to do with security, I suppose, for me, really.
Yeah, of course.
But now it's just a signpost. Yeah, I'm grateful for when it pops up, as much as I am grateful for when I feel fantastic and excited and happy.
Because it shows you that you need to recourse.
Yeah, and it also sometimes tells me that I need to get my shit sorted and push myself harder.
Right. Okay. It's
like, for me, it's a bit of an upper limit problem alert.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to stay small here if you don't address this fear and push forward.
Yeah, because there's sort of low-level anxiety, and then there's kind of more, like you say, things that are stopping you from growing kind of anxiety. Yeah. So I guess that's sort of more what you experience.
Probably.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's not to say... But I've worked with people who have had, debilitating levels of anxiety. Definitely.
Cool. Okay.
So you answer this question.
Yeah,
so what does it mean when you don't feel like you're being yourself, and how do you manage this?
What does your happy self feel like as opposed to your anxious self, I suppose?
So I attended this workshop recently where we explored the idea of what your inner critic and what your soul voice or inner coach or whatever you want to call it.
Inner Buddha.
I think, doesn't matter. Anyway, what it feels like. And I think that's really important. So when you're in your inner critic, when you're not on path, when you're not feeling your true self, you'll have like restrictions. You'll have this feeling of tightness. Life will feel hard. It's restrictive. It's heavy. It's naggy. Even in your, the energy body reflects a lot in our physical posture.
Yeah, it really
so you'll be
does.
closed down a lot of the time. You'll get pains in your body. You'll have this running dialogue of like, but what if?
I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
da, da, da.
absolutely. When you're in your soul place or your place of your highest purpose or your potential or your true self, you'll feel open, you'll feel receptive, you'll feel soft, you'll feel free, you'll feel a sense of potential and possibility, even if you're not sure where or how.
Don't know where it's going to come from, but
exactly.
It's there.
But there's a sense thing. There's a possibility. It's kinder. Do you know what I mean? This other energy, which is very fiery, is much harder on you.
Yeah, it's pushing you.
So I think that's where you know if that helps, if that's what you mean. That's where, like for me, that's when I know I'm in my...
Yeah. I think this is about sensitizing yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
So becoming your own best friend.
Yeah.
And understanding actually that it's not okay to feel shitty. You don't have to feel shitty.
And you shouldn't feel shitty.
You
like,
shouldn't
that's
feel
not
shitty.
why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And that it's not about pushing through and being better, because that's going to create more depression, more anxiety. And it's just listening. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but listening to your inner body. What is your inner body telling you? I mean, there are some days I wake up feeling great and feel amazing, and I'm like, right, that's it, I've got it. I just want to hold on to this feeling forever. And then something will happen and it will throw me off kilter, and then I will start feeling, I don't know, worried, or I'll start feeling tight in my jaw.
Yeah. That's
a
really
big one, isn't it?
Really
Yeah.
big one. And often you don't know you're doing it. If people just push here, and if it hurts, then you know that you clench your jaw a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can feel it.
Yeah.
You know, if you felt that in your shoulders, you'd go and get a massage.
Yeah.
Because you feel it here, you think, is that normal? It's not. But it's like
That's
when
it.
when we get tense.
And I think as well, because I've done Alexander technique, which is brilliant for like learning how to not hold on to yourself.
Yeah.
And when you learn how to not hold on to yourself, you really realise when you are holding on to yourself.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You're like, oh my God. Because it's about putting awareness in the moment. And you're you might be sitting typing at the computer or something, and then you realise every muscle in my body is hanging on. That's going to cause anxiety, right?
Absolutely, because it blocks the flow of energy.
Right. So it stops your energy from moving around the body. So what is an ideal situation to have all the chakras spinning in the same direction, at the same
get
size?
away from the idea of spinning.
Okay.
This bugs me a little bit,
right,
in the kind of new age world.
Okay.
People get funny about what direction they're going in, what they look like, you know. And I think these are all human concepts. I mean, how do we know?
Yeah.
You know, if that helps you, like if it's like a visualization, then go with it. But if you're obsessing over which way is I can't feel it spinning, things like that. I mean, it's like, that's a distraction. You know, we don't need to, some things we don't need to see, we need to trust a little bit more. So in all honesty, your energy body will never be fully functioning perfectly.
Okay.
And I was going to come back to what you said about sometimes waking up feeling great and then sometimes waking up feeling not great. I think we have to be really honest that we are humans having a human experience.
Yeah.
And so when life and shit happens, and you say you've had 2-3 great days and then you have a shit day, if you're like, you know, if you beat yourself up about that, it will set you 10 paces back.
Yeah, that's going to have an effect on your energy body as well, isn't it? It's like the double whammy. It's like, it's totally okay to feel like shit, just don't feel like shit about feeling like shit.
Exactly. And do your little practices that you've got to kind of bring that back. You know, ask questions. I always encourage my clients to have a dialogue with that shit voice. It's not a negative energy. Yeah. Hey, why are you here? Yeah. Is that really true? Yeah. What you're telling me? You know, if it is, then what should I do about it? You know, and then you'll start. That soul voice will come back because you're putting it out. You're opening it. I really believe it's in the questions that we ask. It's not the answers that we're seeking.
Yeah, me too. I've just started understanding that myself, actually, from about last year. I met this amazing guy called Nick Jankel in Croatia, and he really struck me because he was sort of saying everything I wanted to hear, but by asking questions, positing, is it this? Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. Maybe we should look down that road. Maybe we should look down that road. And it got me realising that it's not about being right or wrong, because I think that creates anxiety, because that is about sort of needing and wanting to be self-righteous, rather than just being open to the possibility that an energy body exists. If you're closed to that idea, you know, be open to that idea. There are millions of, you know, it's a very ancient wisdom. So what would you say to somebody that was a little bit cynical about the energy body? I would
ask, for me, it's a fact that everything is energy. So for me, it's not something that's like, it's scientifically known that everything is made of energy, and that we are frequency beings, that our cells resonate and vibrate. So, I mean, I've done so many studies, like read so many studies around these ideas that, you know, like you can have 2 people meditating in different rooms, and how if one gets stimulated by music, it can influence the other if they're in totally soundproof rooms and things like that, you know, and how people will pick up on, like twins, for example, identical twins will pick up on, you know, something happening other side of the world. And I would, for me, like there is no doubt. And I think that communication, you know, that feeling like you walk into a room and you're like, that doesn't feel right. You haven't said anything to anyone yet, you know, and I think that for me is energy. So it's in the experience, I suppose. That's where my true, that's where the proofs come from for me.
Sure,
it's in the experience and in doing the work. Like, it's been my life's work since I was 14, you know, it's like I've lived it.
Funnily enough, 14 was my age as well.
Really?
When I picked up my first Louise Hay book. I was like, oh, the mind, the body. Yeah, it hit a nerve. It was just like a massive yes going into my core. And I never forgot about it from that day.
You don't. It's like, and I always say to my clients, like, the stuff I'm going to share with you, you're not going to think, oh wow, this is new information. It's going to be the sense of just remembering. It's like you're remembering because it's in us. I really believe this understanding is in us.
Yeah, it's like pulling us towards.
It's just instinctual, existence. But we've actually learned to block it out.
Yeah, because that's what the way that modern the economy is set up, the way that government's set up, the way the education system's set up, designed to make us forget our true innate wisdom.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe with my whole being that the cure for anxiety is going inward, finding that deep inner connection to yourself.
Yeah.
I think we can try every trick in the book to try and manage anxiety and like fix those situations when you're on the bus and you're having a panic attack, but at the end of the day it really is about this connection. Yeah. Because anxiety is lost connections. Mm-hmm. That is the cause of anxiety, is the fact that we are so disconnected from each other. And I think working with our energy bodies is a way of reconnecting to literally all that is. Mm-hmm. So the stars, the sun, the sea, the grass, the planets, and each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that just reminds me of this idea of like nature's rhythms, like the lunar cycles and the tides and the the seasons, all of this. Like, we are part of this. We're not separate from it. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and traditionally, like in even tribes that are still going, they still live their lives with this. This is how this like sets the goalpost for like what time they wake up, what they're going to do that day, all of that. Whereas we have disconnected.
Go against it, don't we?
So we work whatever light is presenting. We work whatever the moon is doing.
Yeah.
And in an energetic understanding, there's no wonder that we feel we're fighting a lot of the time.
Yeah,
because we are fighting against the like cosmic energy, if you like, or universal energy, or the energy that's literally on our doorstep. We can see, like from here, I was saying to Sally, we can see the sea, but there's still this idea that it's not something us. We are looking at.
Yes. Yeah.
It's nothing. It's not part of us.
Yeah,
but it is.
I agree. It really is. So one of the conversations that I wanted to have with you, because I know you do this, rituals.
Yes.
And why rituals are so important for you personally, but also for anybody that suffers with anxiety. Why should we do rituals? Mm-hmm. Why should we do rituals? Full stop.
Okay. Well, rituals for me are really important because this is my rebellious nature coming out here, because I hate routine.
Right.
Hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a purpose for routine, because it makes you put structures in place that you follow. So, for example, a spiritual practice might come into a routine. You might do it at 10 o'clock every morning or something. And the reason you do it at that time is so that it becomes part of your habit. But for me, I rebel against that.
Right.
Even if it's something I love. If someone tells me it's a routine, I just think it's boring.
Yeah.
So for me, rituals are a way of, it feels more magical, it feels more creative, it feels more honouring, it feels more holistic, like wholesome. It also is something that you can absolutely do with the rhythms of something. So like what you're talking about is on my Feminine Fierce group, we do full moon rituals.
Right.
So we go with the lunar cycle. So the idea that at a full moon, there's an energy present that we can collectively together harness. So rituals are good because they form communities.
Yeah.
They really do. Like, again, in history and tribal kind of communities, they build communities around particular rituals of a particular thing, and they allow like-minded people to come together.
It's that bonding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is what we don't have when we're anxious, because we're disconnected. So
absolutely. And we're working on our own stuff, but because we're all working on our own stuff, it feels like a collective, energetic thing. And the collective energy is always going to be stronger than the individual.
Yeah.
Also, rituals allow you to like reflect. So like a full moon ritual will be an idea of setting new intentions. So again, no direction can often, I imagine, lead to anxiety, because you feel like, what's next? And there can be a lot of anxiety around that. So the idea that there's a place to come, I like to call it coming home. You like come back to yourself and you think like, okay, last month I set these intentions. How did I do with that? Do they still resonate with me? Let's set some new ones. In mine, I always do meditations because it's a really good way to connect to the energy body. And they feel sacred. They feel honouring. They feel like you're acknowledging your sacred self, I suppose.
Feel important.
Yeah. And they can be really creative. You can bring so much into it. So that's one important.
So what kinds of, and they don't have to be spiritual if somebody doesn't have a spiritual belief, or they find it a bit, because the idea of doing a ritual, I suppose, has got that connotation, hasn't it? That
because it comes from that place.
That you're going to be a bunch of naked women dancing around, and
it might be my next video.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. I absolutely know what you're saying. But rituals come in all, and most people already have rituals.
Bedtime rituals and morning rituals.
Certain people, you know, people have like a routine. But if I feel the difference between routine is very like stagnant and structured, whereas rituals I feel are more playful, and they have this all-encompassing creative aspect to them. So I feel like a lot of people might. I know, I'm so caught up in the spiritual world. I'm trying to think of other ways, but
that's okay.
Yeah, it might be things like, I don't know, people do a certain thing, like you say, before they go to bed, when they wake up in the morning.
Just breathing, or
definitely
affirming.
Yeah,
I am enough in the mirror.
People have like little have to wear like lucky pants.
Yeah,
things like that. If they're doing like a race, they might have a little ritual they go through to like get the mind psyched, have a particular thing they need that gives them luck, or, you know, so there's rituals in everything that we do.
What I really liked about the last live that I joined on Your Feminine Fierce was that rituals create more downtime for us, and they are a way of doing something that's not linked to TV, social media. It's like a little thing that we're doing for ourselves that might involve a crystal, might involve some music or a candle or some, you know, there is some amazing, they're not called tarot cards anymore, like oracle cards, you know, that you can use for guidance. I mean, I'm sure if you Google it, there's a shed load of stuff that you could do, like write it. There's that torch paper that you can use to sort of burn your old shit.
Well, I'm going to try in the Feminine Fierce full moon rituals. My aim is to each time try and bring a new ritual from a different culture. So, you know, I mean, they probably will kind of sit around the same frame because people like the meditations and things like that. But I think there's so many ways that you can implement rituals. But they certainly serve, and I think it's quite nice, as you say, like to get people together to do something called like different, like even if you're with your friends, like rather than just mindlessly watching TV.
Do something.
Do something that's fun.
That's it. And I really like the idea of it, and since that I've been doing like a morning ritual of walking in the park barefoot.
Amazing.
I just find it so utterly grounding and just sort of breathe and visualise, and when I come back I feel like I'm ready for the day. It just sort of realigns your energy, I think. So
and it
powerful.
gives you, I think, something that we're very guilty of in this society is like things that seem a waste of time. If you give something a name and a purpose, you allow yourself to do it. Whereas if you just said to yourself, I'm just going to go for a walk, you might think, but I should be working.
That's it. You're always having this battle in your mind.
Whereas if you give it, and I know that sounds silly, but we have to play with that psychology. And if you give it a purpose, I'm doing this for this, this, and this every day, then suddenly it feels as important as the work or a preparation for the work.
And if you're like me, schedule it in the diary.
Definitely. I'm all over that. Definitely.
Prioritise
self-care.
If it's in the diary, it's going to get done.
100%, so important.
So just talk to us quickly then, before we wrap. Well, not quickly, you can take all the time you like. Talk to us about the importance of self-care.
Okay.
Because I know I was watching one of Kirsty's lives the other day, and she was telling us about one of her clients who... she found it strange that people just don't prioritise self-care, because obviously you do.
You built a business on it.
You built a business on it, and it's something that I do as well. I'm quite happy to say no if I'm knackered or I'm anxious, or, you know, my energy's too split. And go and have a bath, or go and have a massage, or go for a walk, or just do something nice for myself. So can you talk about a little bit about this client and why he didn't do self-care and what he now does?
So this client that Sally's talking about came in, and he told me that basically over the last year his world had fallen apart, and he has a very high-powered job. He's like forensics for kind of global trauma situations. So he gave me the example of the tsunami. When that happened, he was like first in. So it's a very interesting job, but a lot of pressure, and he also sees a lot of very traumatic things. And I think the reason I mention this is because it's really important to become aware of your environment and what you're exposed to. And often when we do something regularly enough, we normalise it.
Right. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So we feel like it's fine. I've seen that kind of trauma often. but that impact is still something that you're carrying, even if, you know, like we're saying, autopilot, get on with it, just get on with it. And so anyway, he'd been doing this for a long time. He has to travel all over the world. He also had a ton of relatives to support, family, all of this going on. And his self-care was just nil. So he was not resting, he wasn't feeding himself properly, he wasn't not sleeping. It was just all over the place. But yeah, then he just hit rock bottom, and his wife got cancer, his parents died, both parents died within about 3-4 months of each other.
That's a lot of shit to do with.
All going on at the same time. And he felt, he didn't know what to do. He just felt like he was going to crumble. He said he looked at a picture recently of that time, and he just physically looked absolutely dreadful. And it was that made him realise that self-care was no longer something he heard or something weak or something kind of like, I don't
just
need
for
that.
women.
Yeah. And it was something that, like, for now, it's an absolute priority of his, over and above many other things. And so yeah, he comes to the spa a lot, he has very regular treatments, he, you know, him and his wife do lots of other things, thank God she's fine now, and all of that. But you know, it took all of that to really realise, and he was talking about the idea that, like, it wasn't promoted in his work, you know, it wasn't a kind of something that was, that, you know, you need to be honouring yourself, you need to be, you know, doing small things like taking a bit of time out, or even having some therapy or some talking, you know, with people to kind of acknowledge that trauma that you've experienced too.
Pretty much left up to us to decide, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think for me, it's a big thing with my kids is that, you know, why are coping mechanisms not taught in school?
Yeah, God, it makes your blood boil.
It does. You imagine if, you know, once a week even, there was a session on coping mechanisms for stress, for any form of, you know, discomfort in the body, like simple tools. And there are so many amazing people teaching it. It's not like it's not there. It's just that hasn't connected fully yet. But
gets in the nervous system. If you don't deal with stress straight away, it just gets in the nervous system. It stays in the nervous system, and then filters into the muscles. It filters into the hormones, and then, you know, the emotions. Eventually, you're just running on this anxiety, and it feels normal to you.
Exactly.
But so you know, you'll go for a massage, or you'll go for some acupuncture or a bit of shiatsu, and you know, people won't be able to, the therapist won't be able to, like, press your arms without you screeching off the table, because your limbs will be so painful because they're just full of lactic acid. And
that's also why you get these phenomenal emotional releases.
Yeah.
So it's suddenly you've created this space, and then it's like this surge. It's like it all comes out at once, and that's, you know, it's not the easiest thing to do.
And then you have the meltdown.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas
the tissues.
Yeah, whereas if it was something that was, just in us, instilled in us, but it's not. We have to go all the way around to, like, massive burnout to think, oh, okay. Because it's not, we're brought up with the idea that you just got to get shit done. You've got to get on with it. You know, there's no space for weakness.
Yeah, it just feels so wrong. I know everything is happening for a reason, but I feel so, probably like you, I just feel so passionate about this subject.
Yeah.
And I could talk for hours, but I guess we need to wrap up soon, don't we? So, thank you, Kirsty.
So welcome.
For that. I feel that we've just created some magic there.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think, thank you for having me on here. It's really lovely.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. I love the way we just vibed off each other. And, you know, it's the first one I've done. I think it's the first one you've done, is it?
It's the first one I've done, like, next to someone. Yeah, I've done a couple, like, over videos, but
okay. Yeah, because Kirsty didn't have a location, so she said, can I come to yours? That's why we're doing it in the same room.
It's actually been really nice.
Yeah, there is an energy that's been created, for sure. And as somebody who's not a questioner, I think I've done quite well.
Yeah, you have. No, your questions have been fantastic.
So I'm chuffed. Yay, little pat on the back. Okay, so I'd like to invite you, Kirsty, to just tell people how they can work with you, where they can find you. I'm sure you've got a website, and I know you've got a Facebook group. So
so
you'd like to share that?
Yeah, the best place to find me, really, is my Facebook group, which is called Feminine Fierce. So you just find that, and you just have to ask to join, and I will let you in there. So I do weekly lives on there, and I kind of put topics out to the community, and you can have your say on what you would like me to do, and then lots of other bits and bobs in there. You can also find me at kirstykianifard.com if you're interested in doing some more like one-to-one work with me. My programs, all that kind of information are on there. And then, of course, if you want to come down and see the spa, if you're local to Brighton and Hove, then yeah, we're in Hove, and the website for that is uoecospa.com. And if you're already a client of ours, because these clients pop up everywhere, we've actually been nominated for an award for Best Spa at the TMP Awards. So yeah, and a nomination for that would be absolutely fantastic. And you can find that on our spa Facebook group, which is Uniquely Organic Eco Spa. So yeah, that's how you can find me.
Oh, that's fantastic. She's a force to be reckoned with, this one. All right, everybody, if you're watching the replay, do drop us a comment. But thank you, Katie. Thank you, Adele. I'm not sure who we've still got on. I think it's Katie. Martin, Katie, Jess, Rachel, Elizabeth, Adele. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.